Okay, so I want to take a minute to talk about using mapping on materials. So I'm going to go to the shading view, and I'm going to take this object and I'm going to modify this material. I've just got the principled BDSF. I'm going to change the material name to checker. And what I'm going to do is let's do a Shift A, and I'm going to do a search for checker texture, and I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And we'll just run color to base color. And we've got this nice little checker texture. And this is cool because I can, scale this up or down. So that's kind of nice. And I can modify the colors and so forth. But if I want to be able to modify this in more ways, one thing that I can do is I can Shift A again, and I can do a search for mapping. And mapping can do a lot. Depending on where you put it and what you're putting it with, there's a lot of different things going on. But in this case, I just want to point out that I can map this vector to this vector, and it's going gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Shift A again, and I will put in something like maybe a geometry node. Okay? And I'll just put that there, and I'll run the position to the vector, and we get our checkers back. In this case, the checkers got even smaller. Now, the cool thing about this is I can modify this. I'm going to actually scale this back to like 1 for the moment, just so it's a little easier to see. But I can go ahead and I can adjust the location of this. So we've got Z and X. If I grab X for location and I move this, I can, have a more precise control over where and how the checker shows up. Likewise, I can scale now. Instead of scaling here where it's just the entire thing, I can scale just on 1. So if I want these to be narrower, maybe I want X to be scaled at 5. Maybe I want Z to be taller yet, and maybe I want Z to be 0.75. That's all something I can do. And then, of course, rotation. Now, in this case, we'd be rotating on Y. Okay, I'm looking at this symbol, and Y is sort of the center of things. So if I rotate on Y, I can get that. So if I put this at 45, for example, that gets to be kind of fun. I'm going to put these back at something more consistent. And I'm going to put this scale at maybe something like that. So that's really cool. Now the thing is, though, it doesn't apply the same way all the way around, because bear in mind, look at the gizmo here. Y and how it affects things on this face is not the same as how it's going to affect things on this face. On this face, X would be the thing to rotate. But if I go ahead and if I rotate on X now, 45 degrees, I've got that going on, but I've also got what was going on here affecting it. Now this can be really cool, if you're trying to do some Argyle patterns or some things like that. It's really great, but it's not always going to work out. Depends on what you're trying to do and how much control you want to have. So there are other strategies to take, which is not in the scope of what I'm talking about right now, but I might create multiple materials. So I might have a material called checker. Actually, let's do that really quickly. Let's put the X back to 0. And we will leave the checker material applied on this side and on this side. And what I could do now is I can go ahead and let's just create a second slot. And I'm going to, in slot 2, actually, let's go back to slot 1. And I'm going to just create a copy of this same thing. So I've now got checker 1. And what I'm going to do is, let's just tab in here, and on these faces, let's go into face select mode. I can grab this face, and I can grab this face. And I will assign checker 1 to it and assign it. And then for checker 1, I will just flip these numbers. I will turn this to a 0. And I will turn... Oh, looks like I made a little mistake there. So I'm going to make this checker. So checker is here with the 45 degrees. And then I'm going to go to slot 2, checker 1, and I will make the x-axis 45 degrees. So now I've got diagonals happening here and here. So two materials applied that are doing the same thing, just in different ways. Likewise, you could do unwrapping and rotate the face. There's different things to go about. The main thing is just to be aware that the mapping gives you a lot of control over what's going on, but it's very conditional and doesn't always apply the same way.